Hi there, Dean Heskin. You're tuned into our podcast, The Secret War on Cash, that is provided or brought to you by Swiss America Trading Corporation, our company, that's designed to maybe give you a little bit of insight or a look into some of the things that are happening in our marketplace, in our economy that it may not be getting all the publicity or all the attention it needs, and for that matter, the explanation needed for people to be better equipped to make good decisions in terms of what these changes are and what you might need to do to maybe help prepare for them. And to do this, I have my co-host with me, Chris Agelastos. Chris, there he is, jumping right in. Uh,
Hey, hey.
Chris, long time no see. Not really,
Yeah.
been just a little bit actually. But we're going to talk a little bit today about AI and AI, which has been all over the news for, good Lord, it's got to be pretty close to a couple years plus now, in terms of, it kind of displacing a lot of functions in our marketplace, our economy, not least of which being our workforce. And it's really, and this was expected or anticipated that it would, this was going to be a problem. But this from the economiccollapseblog.com, okay? They're saying 111 million US adults do not have a job, and America spends more than $1 trillion per year on a social safety net for them.
Yep.
Now, the numbers on this are, when I saw this article and was kind of just doing some kind of quick research on it, if you will. First of all, in the United States of America, according to the Census Bureau, 2025, we have 269.8 million adults aged 18 or older in the United States. So this represents about 78.9% of the entire U.S. population, the U.S. resident population, which is 341 million. So the interesting thing about this is that that's a huge number, 111 million U.S. adults that do not have a job.
Yep.
Now we know, and we probably won't get into this so much in this show or this program, but there are a lot of creative ways and explanations that we are given that um, how they report unemployment, the job market, and so forth. Okay, so like
Yeah.
111 million US adults do not have a job, just using this title. Well, I then asked, of those employable, how many are unemployed? And it states that as of June of 2026, the latest Bureau of Labor Statistics data, there are approximately 7.1 million unemployed people in the US. So there's a little bit, 7 million versus 111 million.
Yeah.
That's a pretty wide gap. And at the end of the day, I don't think in our lifetime we'll ever be given the true numbers, because those who are putting forth the numbers, there's usually a financial, economic, and mostly a political aspect or element to that.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, what I think, no matter what the numbers are, even if 111, if that's a third right, that's still pretty bad. The bottom line is that we are finding that AI is creating a big chasm, if you will, in our job market. And there are other factors too. I'm not
Sure.
just utilizing AI. We'll get more into that in a moment. But the employment situation is very dire.
Hmm.
And because of, again, things like AI and some of these changes corporations are making, where's the replacement jobs going to come from? Because if anything, that number continues to drop.
Yep. Yeah. And what this, what the government's labor statistics leave out also are all the people that just aren't looking for work. So the government's only saying, we've got 7 million people that are actually wanting to work that aren't. But in fact, we've got 111 million that are not working. And even if it's their own choice, and why would somebody choose not to work? Well, one of the other things they mention in here is that the government's social safety nets, if you will, cost about $1 trillion a year. So the government is giving out $1 trillion a year to assist people and help people that need it, that are unemployed or underemployed. Some of that is Social Security and Medicaid, SNAP benefits, income tax credits, things like that. But when you add up all of that money that the government's giving out, it's over $1 trillion a year. We've got 111 million unemployed, which is more than a third of our population, and those numbers are continuing to grow, which means we're going to have to give out more money. And we already know that the government spends more than it should already. So they're going to have to keep increasing the size of those programs, which means more money printing, which means devaluation of the dollar, which means higher grocery prices and fuel prices and everything else that we have to pay for. So the people that are working are going to continue to have less purchasing power with the dollars that they earn. And the people that aren't working are continuing to not work and getting a lot of handouts. And again, not to say that some of those aren't deserved, necessary, of course. Social Security benefits, all of us or a lot of us have paid into that for years. And that is part of the benefits that they're paying out here. But again, at some point, the math is just no longer going to work. When you have less and less people working and generating income and more people taking from the pot than putting into it, you're going to run into major economic problems. And that's, I think, the real issue here is long term, this is not sustainable in the least.
Right. Well, and I should mention, they do explain that, and this sounds, I hope it's not as crude as this sounds, but that their definition, you have 7 million who are unemployed, receiving
Mhm.
unemployment. The other 104 million, how they explain this is the crude part, is they dump them into this category called not in labor, not, what is it, not in the labor force or something to that
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
Um, not in labor force.
Mhm.
So that's seems very convenient to do, but like, I mean, literally, and I didn't really catch or see if there was anything that really qualified, as to what I would imagine they dump them into that category as soon as unemployment runs out, because at some point unemployment does run out. And but still, I mean, to be talking and to have them to say, okay, well, we have 7 million unemployed, and even to say like on one month to the next it's going up or down or whatever, when you have 104 million who are not in the labor force and that fall into that category, that's
Yeah.
insane, absolutely
Yep.
insane. And I don't know if you know, maybe you can explain it a little bit. This whole social safety net, to me it sounds like the programs that they rolled out during COVID. I can't remember the acronym for it, but it sounds like that, where they okay, because of COVID you don't have money, fill out this paperwork, fill out this form, and boom, now you'll get some kind of compensation. This social safety net, I didn't really see anything, and I may have missed it, but where it really got into too much depth or detail as to how people have access to these funds. Is that something you're familiar with or you've
No,
seen?
I did see that they broke out and they said that that does include Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, and earned income tax credits. There's other things in there, obviously, that they didn't list. So it includes a lot of programs, and again, some of those are necessary. But the bottom line comes down to if that pot has to continue growing and the government is going to continue to put more dollars in there, it's going to come from the productivity of the people that are working. And the way they manipulate the numbers, I mean, it would be like me saying, I have two children that are over 18, but I'm still supporting them. So if I decided to move them into another category, and say that, oh, I no longer support my children because technically I don't have any children at home under 18, yet I'm the one paying their bills every month, right? So it comes down to where do we want to move them to make the statistics sound good. But at the end of the day, what am I actually spending? Well, I'm supporting my kids, whether they're 15 or 22. If I'm paying their bills, it's coming out of my pocket and out of my budget. And so necessarily worry too much about what category they put these people in. At the end of the day, the government is writing the check, and we, the people, are the ones that produce that money through our efforts. So
Right.
it's just not sustainable to maintain that kind of program, no matter what labels you put on it to mask it.
Right. Absolutely right. Well, I kind of hate to, end the podcast with a second article being so negative, but
Yeah.
going here to the next one from also the economic collapse blog. The AI jobs apocalypse has begun. We are witnessing an unprecedented wave of AI related layoffs in 2026. And, let me tell you, in fact, what this reminds me of looking back, Chris, and I don't know your thoughts on this, but it it kind of reminds me of when McDonald's was shifting to the kiosks and getting rid of the people who were taking your orders,
Mhm.
and all the discussion with that, how the jobs that were going to be lost, because so many people, that was their first job, was working at a McDonald's or some type of a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
And my point is that initially speaking, a lot of the focus around AI seemed to be it was going to get rid of these entry level jobs. But now in 2026, what they talk about in here is that they're replacing like good paying jobs, like career type, profession
Mhm.
type jobs, AI is. And again, as we mentioned, as we were, kind of going through that first article, there's nothing being discussed or talked about in terms of, like, take the 111 million people who are unemployed currently. There's really no discussion that I've seen out of Washington or what have you, that is coming up with solutions to where these people, other than the government putting an extra $1 trillion into, like, basically unemployment type funds. There's
Mhm.
nothing being discussed about where we can create new jobs and where we can put things in place for families to start earning and developing an income for themselves.
You're right. They always say, well, people are just going to have to adapt. They're going to have to retrain themselves, learn a new career. But nobody is saying, okay, what is what is that career that is going to be completely safe? How are we going to retrain these people? How long is it going to take? So how long are they going to be out of work? There's a lot of variables there, and it seems so far that there's very, very little help because, we're not exactly sure. At least at me, I'm not sure how deep are these AI jobs, or how many of these jobs are AI going to be able to replace? I mean, some of the areas that they're talking about here, some of the top areas that are being replaced by AI, administrative roles. Well, that covers a whole lot of different types of positions. Software like coding and things like that, because the AI can actually write the code, so you don't need people to do it anymore. Maybe you may still need some to oversee it, right? But the AI is doing a lot of the work. Customer support. I mean, just about every company out there, if you're operating a business, you have to have people in a customer or client support role, and middle management roles. Somebody overseeing all those workers. Well, if those workers are no longer there, how much management do you need to oversee them? So it's going to affect a lot of different industries. I would almost say nearly every industry in some way. Microsoft here is one of the companies that they show just laid off 4,800 employees, and they're just still, all they're saying is, well, we're reorganizing, and changing the way we spend our dollars. But that's 4,800 employees that aren't going to have a job now, and especially obviously, like you mentioned too, the entry level jobs that AI can completely do 90% of what they do. So it's a big thing. And then these companies, I've heard a few of the AI proponents say, well, this is going to be a good thing for most of us because we're not going to have to work as hard at our jobs. AI is going to help you, and certainly you can use it to assist with some things. But if your job is completely replaced, I don't see how. Oh, that's great. I've got a lot of spare time on my hand, but I can't support myself hanging out at the house watching TV or going fishing every day, right? So it's going to be a big problem, and these companies are just continuing to take the dollars that they save from laying people off and investing in more and more AI. So it's going to
Sure.
continue to advance, continue to grow, which is going to continue to eliminate more jobs. So I mean, I don't want to be totally doom and gloom. I mean, obviously, I don't think all the jobs are going to disappear, but at this point, I'm not really sure how many jobs could we say are safe. You know, people would say, well, maybe plumbers, because we need somebody to get in there and actually manipulate the pipes. Well, here Elon is cutting back on car production to create robots that can do those types of things for us. Now, maybe they're 5 or 10 years away from being good enough to do that, but I feel like this is just going to continue to be a bigger and bigger problem. And so far, it's really up to the individuals to kind of figure out a way around it, because there just doesn't seem to be any help from the government or these companies that are letting people go. I mean, they're certainly not giving them a nice exit strategy and helping to retrain them within the same organization.
Sure. Well, and what's interesting about it too, and again, I think it speaks to just yet again another disconnect we have in our economy, is that when with this AI replacing these jobs out there, you would think that would make things less expensive out there and things more affordable. But this is happening. As this is happening, the AI is growing and displacing people out of their jobs. We are seeing some of the worst price increases across the board that we've seen in quite a while. I mean, this has become like we've talked about how, as it stands, retired people having to use retirement funds, even credit
Mhm.
cards at times to buy groceries and things of this nature because the structure of their payments that they had planned on, that income is just not enough to keep up with what the cost of living is and the increased cost of the groceries and what have you. So,
Yeah.
all right,
Well, and I'll
well,
tell you too. This is just my opinion, but if a company that produces a product, let's say a company that makes crackers, right? They're charging $3 a box for these crackers. If they use more and more AI, get rid of employees, let's say they're able to save money. Do you think they're going to lower the price of the box of crackers to $2 instead of three? I don't. I think they're
right.
going to keep it three or up it to 3.50 because of inflation, and they're going to take those additional profits and give it to the higher ups and the shareholders. So I just don't see in a free capitalist society like we have, I don't see those companies doing the right thing and lowering prices to help everybody. Their job is to reward the shareholders, and that's where that money is going to go. So if you're wealthy enough to invest in those companies, that may benefit you there. But on the other side of it, you may lose your job and have less to invest. So I
Right.
think it's going to be a bumpy road for many years to come.
Right. Unfortunately, Chris, I think you might be correct on that one. All right.
I
Well,
know
let's
I know it's not positive. Sorry.
our next episode. I'm going to work on finding something really positive to talk
Yeah,
about because
please. I'm depressed over here now.
it's not. Yeah, it's not pretty. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're not subscribed to our podcast, please do so. Love to talk to you more in the future. Have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week as well, and we'll see you soon.
Take care.